Yes, I'm starting to record because you and I have this horrible habit of we
Having
start
good
getting into this.
conversations.
Yeah, we get in this long-winded conversation and it's really good crap that we talk about and none of it's recorded. So,
I mean,
yeah,
we're just talking about your lack of a beard right now.
I know. Feels like my face forgot to put on pants.
You without a beard is like me with a mustache.
Speaking of mustache, sir, tell the world what the hell you did.
I got tired of it poking my upper lip, so I attempted to trim it with trimmers that were not made for that purpose. And right before work, and gave myself a reverse Hitler stash.
I so wish you would have taken a picture of it and sent it to me.
So I unfortunately did not make it all the way through November. I had like 4 or 5 days left, but I
I have a
wasn't going to work with that.
I have a feeling that you purposefully did not send me a picture of it because you knew that I would share it with the world.
Well, there was never going to be any type of photo documentation associated with that. You put my Halloween picture on Facebook,
I
so
did. I was actually looking through my photos for something a little bit better. I was actually looking for our newest logo for the show. I was going to put that. And then I came across the picture of you dressed up as Cody or Jesus, Todd for Halloween. I thought, oh, this is perfect. This is definitely clickbait. And it worked. Did you see how many comments are on that?
I did actually.
In fact, we just got another one. So, and I got a phone call, I got a couple text messages. So, yeah. So let's just set the record straight. I am not firing Cody by any means. Cody and I have way too much fun on the show. I just completely understand that the man has a busy life. He's got 3 kids that he is attempting to raise, plus he works a 24/48, and he's got a wife that has to babysit him all the time. And so,
Sometimes she needs a break. That's why she allows me to do this.
yeah, yeah. Well, she needs a break. Yes, from you. Agreed. But wanting to start growing the show a little bit more and maybe hopefully putting out a couple episodes a week is my game plan. And I don't mind doing monologues. In fact, I was going through some of the numbers on the various platforms that we use. And one of the monologues that I did actually got better views than some of the interviews we've done. So maybe I should do more monologues. I don't know.
Depends on how many shows you want to get out.
I mean, it's easier to talk to somebody. I don't do well just talking to myself, but
That
as a
edit
friend,
button's for.
well, it's true. As a friend informed me today though, you can't get better at something if you don't practice. So I guess maybe I should try it. I don't know.
Also,
But
my lovely T-shirt background is going to go away.
yeah.
Yeah, I've got a new background coming.
Ooh, that sounds
Mhm.
exciting. Should make that a
Um,
surprise.
it will be solely because one of my buddies called it the "thank me for my service" background,
I mean,
and it really bothered me because that wasn't the point behind it. It was just improvised, so you didn't have to see my boring ass wall.
I didn't necessarily take it that way, although I'm pretty sure I did say that to you when you first brought it out. So maybe I did. I still think it
I
looks
don't
cool though.
I don't have a lot of clothing that isn't fire service based, to be honest with you.
That's fair. That's fair. It took me a while to get out of that because I had the same thing. In fact, I'm sure people look at me funny because most of the clothes that I wear to the gym is like black helmet or something along those lines. I mean, I don't really wear them any other time. Wear them to the gym.
It's just easy clothing that I already had. You take a t-shirt out of service, get new t-shirts from work, and the old ones just go into circulation for home wear.
Yeah, it's true.
So as a result, I have all of those, but I actually have a purpose designed background for this. And I'll be straight up honest with you. I didn't think we were going to be doing this long. So that was just more or less a
Wait. You didn't think we were gonna stick with this for as long as we did?
no, honestly, bud, you have a tendency of getting involved in something hardcore for a little bit, and then your ADHD kicks in, and then it's on to something else.
No, I know, but this I actually really enjoy. I don't know, something about it. I can see like the statistics and everything, the analytics and everything. Like I can see it actually working. So I think that's part of my issue too. Is I tend to not see progress in things, and I'm like, well, fuck, I'm done with that, and move on to something else. But like the whole Project 86 thing, that's still going on. It's just
Mhm.
one of those things that it's slow running, which is fine. I think
Well,
it'll
something like that is going to be initially.
well, and that's kind of how this is too. I mean, it's growing. Like every week when I check the numbers continue to grow. So then that's thanks to all of you that watch the show or listen to the show. You know, it continues to grow every day, which is awesome. But speaking of which, we have some cool guests lined up for next year, and I might be working on somebody that those that live in the Fort Wayne, Allen County area are very familiar with. I'm not going to give too much detail on that. Cody, I'll tell you after we're done recording. For those that aren't familiar with Northeastern Indiana, specifically Fort Wayne area, Fort Wayne is growing very rapidly in more ways than one. So the county as a whole is creating a fire department. Not really creating, it's combining
Binding a
all of
bunch
the
of fire.
departments together, which in turn is going to make it the second largest fire department in the state of Indiana. But there are a lot of other cities, I know for a fact, a lot of other cities and counties across the state and maybe in some surrounding states that are watching very closely to see how this all goes because there are a lot of people that are interested in doing the same thing. So, with that, there's a lot of movement going on, and then there's also movement going on, there's rumblings I should say going on the county police side of people interested in being in charge, we'll just put it that way. There's a so several years ago there was a gentleman that was a very well-known sheriff. He was, I personally believe he was an awesome individual, no disrespect to any of the other people that have been in that sheriff's role, but this particular guy was one of the few that was not just liked, but loved by pretty much all of the officers that were underneath him and a lot of the
I know who
community.
I know who you're
Community
talking about.
loved him. And he's been pretty big. Like he's done we have the Crime Stoppers videos that pop up on TV. I don't know if anybody actually watches regular cable TV anymore, but
I don't pay for it.
he does the Crime Stoppers videos on there. His son is a very talented individual. In fact, I'm in talks with him right now to have him as a guest on the show. But yeah, hopefully I can get him on. I think he would be really good to chat with.
Definitely, especially with all the stuff he's getting into here these days.
Yeah. So anyway, got some big plans for this show for 2026. Like I said, hopefully going to be putting out 2 episodes every week. Even if a couple of them are me doing monologues, but I have some friends that are interested in being kind of guest co-hosts, so we'll have a few of those sessions. Like I said, Cody's not going anywhere, not getting rid of him, and he's
It's
actually not allowed to quit either. So
just not
there's
my
that.
full-time job.
No, it's not mine either. I don't get paid for this yet. So,
That's
which,
good. I don't
with
get
that
paid
being
either.
said, if you are interested in sponsoring our show, please feel free to shoot me an email at debriefwithtyler@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, debriefwithtyler.com.
And I'll hang your background behind me.
Yeah, yeah, we will. And there's some other ideas that I got popping up. We'll see. But I think 2026 is going to be a good year. Probably not taking near as long of a break in the summertime as I did this year. I think that was too long of a break. It was nice, don't get me wrong, but so what's new, Cody? What's going on with you?
Not much. I mean, we talked about my mustache and its unfortunate demise. What happened to your beard?
So as I mentioned earlier, my face forgot to put on pants and
Yeah?
it just decided that it doesn't want to wear pants anymore. So yeah, I'm back on a fire department again. Felt like, we talk a lot about the fire service. We talk a lot about the first responder community. So I figured, why not? I'll get back into it. So I got back onto a department. Pretty nice department. A lot of young kids on it. In fact, A lot of people on that department listen to this show. Good group of people. I think it's gonna be a good time.
Well, good for you.
Yeah. By no means are they the busiest department, but that's all right. I'm fine with that.
Don't need to be a busy department to scratch your itch.
Nope. I did my time on busyness, especially in EMS. Lordy. 14 calls in 12 hours. That's obnoxious.
I just got to visit the place of your former employment earlier
You
tonight.
did? You mean your
Yeah,
former employment as well?
mine as well.
Yeah, that's because a mutual friend of ours owns a
Bought a Dodge.
Dodge truck and can't figure out why the stupid thing wouldn't run. I wonder why. It's a Dodge.
He was convinced that his little jumper pack has never failed him before.
Well, he's probably right. The jumper pack has not failed him, but the battery and arguably the alternator has.
It was dead.
Yeah.
There was. That needs to be on a charger for a bit before that starts.
I I mean, knowing him, so in case y'all aren't wondering or are wondering, we're talking about Todd Nelson. Todd has been on the show before. Todd is an excellent paramedic. He is a great friend, but some days I just wonder. Todd is known for letting things go for a while. So I'm guessing that battery is probably old. That
He
battery is
was
probably been there longer than he's owned the truck.
he said it was new. He said it was new.
Like, did he replace it? Or he had somebody replace it.
I hope he knows how to change the battery in a car. I don't know much beyond cars other than how to put gas in them, and I can change a
That's
battery.
fair. You know how to take a bumper off.
Now somebody did that for me.
So, speaking of which, we have another. Well, I think you know this individual, but there's a gentleman who is on a career department. I won't name the department. I'm not going to call him out, but he used to be on my old fire department. Very good friend of mine. Him and I actually went to preschool and kindergarten together and first grade. But very good friend. He like I said, he's on a career department. Well, he used to own a white Chevy Cavalier, and that vehicle was such a piece of junk that it was literally the body of the car was being held to the frame by zip ties. It had rusted out so bad, and he was still driving it. So we made fun of him all the time because he had probably about 50 zip ties holding the body to the frame.
What brand is zip ties? Because that's the ones I want to buy.
Well, honestly, I need to find out what brand because what we should have done, I should have taken a bunch of pictures because we could have made money off of that. But this was also like 10 years ago. Pretty impressive, actually. I think he had some duct tape in there too. It fixes everything,
For Gorilla Tape, actually. Has a little bit more adhesive strength than the duct tape.
does it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've used Gorilla Tape.
It's superior.
Do you keep it in the trunk of your car next to the rope and everything else?
Actually, I do have a roll of it in the trunk of my car.
We might have to edit that out, Cody. That seems like a problem.
That's how I hold the rest of the bumper of my car. And for everybody's to pique everybody's curiosity, my car has no bumper, not because I'm a horrible driver. It's because I was driving down Interstate 69 next to a semi when the semi decided to blow a tire, and it took my bumper out.
And people wonder why I fly past semi trucks on my bike because that happens more often than people realize where tires get shredded on a semi truck and take out a car, or worse yet, a tire on a dually just randomly comes off and starts rolling down the highway.
My wife can't find her phone, and she set the Find My Phone alarm off, and it's on the bed.
Oh, found it.
Edit that out.
No, I'm leaving it in. She just wants to be on the show. I get it.
Eh, Yeah, that was her way of getting on. She did find her phone though.
That's good. Proud of her.
No, my favorite part about the whole losing a bumper incident, if you can have a favorite part about a semi truck blowing a tire right next to you. One, I was thankful it went low and not high. Two, my middle child at the time was 2 years old, sitting in a car seat in the back and yelled, "Oh shit."
Clearly, she learned that word from her father.
Yeah, absolutely. Then
Wasn't
the
the
youngest
oh wait, the youngest was still asleep, right?
he slept through the whole thing.
Yeah, that's good. That could have been real bad.
Yeah, no, state trooper that came out to do the report was probably the coolest trooper I've ever come across. So don't remember what his name is, but
Oh,
if he
state
randomly watches
troopers.
this,
Did he have his hat on?
I don't remember. I just
I don't
remember handing
remember
him.
if
I said I just handed him my driver's license and my registration along with my concealed carry license. So that way he knew I had a firearm. And he looks at it and he goes, "Oh, is it on you?" I'm like, "Yes, sir. I always carry it on me." He was like, "All right. You don't grab yours and I won't grab mine."
solid life advice.
That's fair. Then I look at his chest and he's got a freaking master pistol badge, and it's like, "I think you're better with yours than I am with mine anyway." And he goes,
Yeah, you weren't gonna
"I
win.
think I am too."
It's fair.
No, he even let London, my middle child, she even let him even let her sit in the driver's seat of his squad and play with the siren while he was
See,
waiting for the stuff to come back.
that's awesome that she did that. However, I try to get my kid to go into like my friend's squad car or whatever, and he's like afraid of it. And I don't quite understand why. He just doesn't want anything to do with it. That's fine. It is what it is. I mean, it's not like I'm going to force him to go sit in a squad car or something crazy. Now, he will go jump up and down in fire trucks. And like I took him to the station, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off, jumping on top of the the tailboard and jumping on into the driver's seat and into the back. Like he's all over the place. So maybe it's just squad cars. Maybe my kid is safe and won't become a cop. That was a joke to all of my police friends.
My son thinks cops are the coolest thing ever.
He changes his mind left and right. Like some days he wants to be a cop, and other days he's like, nope, I want to be a firefighter. The latest thing he wants to do is he wants to be a YouTuber.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, no, my kid goes back and forth between I want to be a police officer, so I can help people, is what he says,
He
and
just wants
then
the free donuts
he goes back and forth between that or a garbage man.
so he can help people.
No,
I
just so
feel
he
like
just so he can drive the big truck.
I feel like garbage men help people a little bit more.
Shots
I'm gonna
fired.
get so much hate for that. You know, my favorite joke is crap. What's that comedian's name? Everybody calls him Fluffy. Gabriel Iglesias.
Yeah.
Gabriel Iglesias does this skit where he's leaving a donut shop and he's so excited. He's got like a dozen donuts and he's like, oh, can't wait to get home and eat these. He's like incredibly excited. If you've seen Gabriel Iglesias, you would know why. Anyway, so he gets the pack of donuts in there and he starts driving off and he gets pulled over by a cop. Cop starts walking up and he's so angry, but he's like, these are fresh donuts, they're warm and he's so excited about it. Cop walks up and he's like, license and registration, hands it to him and goes, you know why I pulled you over? He said, I couldn't resist. I grabbed the box, I opened it up and I said, because you can smell it. Funniest skit ever. Loved it. Of course, every time I tell that joke though, a couple of our mutual cop friends are like, would you ever pass up a free donut? I said no, but it's funny to make fun of cops and donuts, especially when you see them at donut shops. And around here, we see them there often
Well, why do cops always hang out at fire stations?
because they want to be firefighters.
Exactly.
Everybody needs
Exactly.
a hero.
Yeah. Ones around us always manage to show up around dinner time.
Funny enough, this was probably, well, it was probably about 10 years ago. There was a run. I think it was on the interstate. We got called for a field fire. And we get out there and a good friend of ours, Eric Foster, who's also been on the show, beat us on scene naturally because at the time he was driving a Charger, I believe. Beat us on scene and he put the fire out with his water bottle. And I went up to him and I said, I don't arrest your bad guys. You don't put out my fires. Oddly enough, I was not the first fire department to tell him that because the department to the north of me had also said that and actually went off on him for it. So you think he would have learned his lesson, but he did not. I think he's learned it now. He doesn't put fires out anymore.
Jokes aside, I love cops. They've gotten me out of a couple few hairy situations on runs. So
No, I don't disagree. I've had quite a few calls where I have called for emergency assistance. Please pause. I'm getting a knock on the door. I'm back. He wanted to know if he could have the extra frosting from a gingerbread house that he built. Next time he comes in here, I'm going to make him get on camera. But no, I agree. There's been a
New
couple
co-host.
times where I have, yeah, right. There's been a couple times where I've had to call for emergency help. But there's also been a couple times where I've had incidents and there's about 4 or 5 of my buddies, I'm not going to name any names, but 4 or 5 of my buddies just standing there saying, let us know when you want us to step in. Like, right now would be
Now?
great. Yeah, I'm not a cop. I need you to do your job.
No, I called for emergency help once when I was working in the city doing EMS, and the first 4 officers that showed up were actually off-duty officers that were in their squad cars, their take-home vehicles, that heard the call and was like, "Oh crap, I'm 2 blocks away." The one that was first on scene was actually in the McDonald's drive-through where we pulled over and called for help.
Yeah,
And he pulled out a line and khaki shorts and Hawaiian shirt comes up. "What do you guys need?"
need you to take care of
Grab
that.
some grab something.
Yeah.
Arm, leg, whatever.
So my now wife and I, we were both on the department together. She was an EMT, which is comical because she's a nurse practitioner, but she wanted to volunteer. So she was an EMT. And her and I had gone on a call for a possible car fire on the interstate. And we get there. Long story short, the car is not on fire. There is a lot of smoke inside. Not really sure what the smoke was from. It didn't smell like weed. It didn't smell like cigarette smoke. Not really sure what it was. So I read the plate off to dispatch, and because there was nobody around, read the plate off to him, and I was like, it's an abandoned vehicle. I don't have any more info for you. Well, as I'm standing there, this other car, so we're facing southbound. This other car is going northbound, and they pulled off right up against. There's a giant median wall separating the 2 lanes. And they pulled up to the side and they're screaming something. One really short guy, one big guy, like taller than me, wider than me. Looked like he probably could have used me as a toothpick, honestly. They're yelling something, couldn't figure out what it was. And they speed off. And I'm like, they're coming over here, I bet. So started getting in the back in the truck. Sure enough, they pull up and they're angry. So I called for help just to have an officer come by and take care of this situation because really just me, like she can hold her own, but I didn't want her to be in that situation. And I had a Halligan bar in my hand just in case it went sideways. And sure enough, the big guy he was wanting to fight. I hit that emergency button and I called for help as quick as I could. And same thing, I had about 5 or 6 police officers, and probably 4 of them were off duty, flying out there to come help us. And one of them, not going to name any names because I don't want to get them in trouble, but one of them was coming from the clear opposite end of the county and was doing about Mach 20 to
Mock
get
Jesus.
to the scene. Yeah. Uh, Long story short, so there was like 2 officers that were going license sirens northbound, and that spooked these guys. So they immediately got into their other vehicle and they took off. And by the time the officers got into the southbound lane, they were already gone. So no idea where they went. But yeah, they've saved my butt a time or two. And if they didn't actually do it like in person, just the threat of calling them has helped tremendously. So props to them. I do love making fun of them though, because they make fun of us all the time.
Mhm.
I'm actually getting ready to go do a ride along, believe it or not.
Are you really?
I am next week. I'm going to go do a ride along with a buddy of mine who is state excise. So, believe it or not, state excise actually does more than just alcohol and tobacco and stuff like that. They actually do like cop work. This is a friend of mine that him and we go way back, but him and I used to work together when we worked in dispatch, and he's a good dude. So he convinced me to come do a ride along with him. Let's see what kind of trouble I can get in. He already told me I could turn on the lights and sirens, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Ooh. Ooh, you get to play with all of the buttons and switches.
He won't let me hold on to the taser though. I don't really quite understand that one. Kind of disappointed.
I mean,
Have you ever been pepper sprayed?
not by a cop.
Not by a cop. You got pepper sprayed by a old lady or what?
No, I got pepper sprayed by myself because I am half stupid on most days.
What does this button do?
Mm. No, it was the keychain kind that has the marker die in it.
Of course it was.
This was years and years and years ago before I even got into public safety. I was working at a Dollar General.
And fresh out of homeschool, just graduated.
Yep, yep. And my sister had this little keychain pepper spray, and she didn't. It was expired. She didn't know whether it worked or not. So
So you
I'm like,
being the hero that you are, decided you were going to test it out for her.
I went outside and I tested it, right? Don't spray it into the wind. I had pink marker dye in it and I had to go to work.
Bet that was fun explaining to everybody.
But yeah, nobody believed me.
So I worked at a prison for a hot minute. None of this is new news. If anybody ever listens to the episode that I did with Jason White on his podcast, I shared a lot of these stories. But I worked at a prison for a hot minute and it was awful. Absolutely awful. It was a sex offender camp. So that was even more difficult. If anybody doesn't know what that means the majority of the population in that prison are sex offenders. And that ranges from child molesters to rapists to everything in between. So I specifically told every one of them, I don't want to know your story. I don't care if you think you're innocent or guilty. I don't want to know anything about you because I'm going to treat you differently and I don't want to do that. And you don't want me to do that. So we had a mutual understanding. But I was training for a specialty team in there and I had to get sprayed with pepper spray. And it's not just any regular pepper spray, it's level, I believe it was level 3 OC spray, which is pretty
It's
strong
the
stuff.
industrial stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had to get sprayed with that. And then you have to go do like an obstacle course. Every department's different. Every agency is different on how that obstacle course is set out. Mine, I honestly cannot tell you for the life of me what it was because the only thing that I remember is the excruciating pain that I was in from the pepper spray. So the commander that was spraying us, got me in the ear, sprayed all the way, went up, missed my left eye, got me in the other ear, realized that he missed, and went back and hit my eye again. Wide open, eyes are wide open. Then you go and do that obstacle course. Well, that burning sensation lasted for about 2 days, maybe three. I made the mistake of taking a shower. Actually, the first mistake I made was falling asleep on the couch that night because that reactivated everything. And then I made the mistake of taking a shower. I was at least smart enough to lean over so that it didn't affect anything else, but it reactivated when I got out. It was awful, horrible pain. I don't recommend it. So if you're breaking the law, stop breaking the law.
10 out of 10 don't
And
recommend.
yeah, don't break the law and don't get pepper sprayed. So there's that.
You've been paying attention to any of the fire service news around Indiana lately?
Saw that there's a department that is recently started switching to the 4890s. I have a lot of concerns with that, but I did
Carmel
notice
Fire.
that.
They're gonna start in, I think, July of next year. June, July of next year. Now they were running I have no idea what this shift is actually called, but I imagine going from what they had to this is probably going to be a lot better for them. But they did.
Was this they were doing like an on, off, on, and then like 4 days
Yeah,
off
on off
rotation?
for 5 days and then followed by 4 days off.
Yeah. So I did that when I was doing
Sounds
EMS.
horrible.
When I was doing EMS at a smaller city there for that period of time when I left Fort Wayne, we did that rotation and it wasn't bad. Obviously, that stretch that you're on, like those days that you actually have off, you're not doing anything. You're just resting and getting ready for your next shift.
Is the 4896 really a better option though?
I'm going to say no, but there are a lot of people that are trying to say that it is. So here's my argument. And I know you have your own argument too.
Hmm.
Here's my argument. Anybody who does any level of health, exercising, dieting, anything like that, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that in order for your body to recover from anything, you need sleep. You got the flu, you need sleep. You just did a hit training, whatever, you need sleep. Like that's where you see the most progress in anything is sleep. So what is the one thing that the fire service doesn't do is allow you to sleep. So I don't know how busy Carmel Fire is. I would imagine they're probably pretty busy. I don't think they're the busiest department by any means. Like they're not busier than Indianapolis, but I would imagine they're pretty busy. So 48 hours on, you're not getting any sleep.
I mean, I believe Carmel runs the busiest truck company in Hamilton County. It's either Carmel or Fishers, one or the other.
I don't know. Is Carmel technically in Hamilton County?
Yes, I believe so.
Didn't know that. Well,
They all used to do a
regardless,
com- they all used to do a combined process down there, but I don't shift work in general. It's just garbage. But it's what you have with the fire service because it doesn't matter what time of the day it is. Somebody calls 911. Somebody's got to go, and obviously, it's a it's a cheaper option for departments because you're just paying 3 shifts to work or rather than which I don't think even like an 8-hour shift or a 12-hour shift is necessarily the answer to that because I did 12s working at EMS and that was just as bad if not worse.
I don't know. You look at FDNY. FDNY does, I mean, they don't do 24-hour shifts. They're also extremely busy. Like, I understand why they do that, but it's obviously doable. So I don't understand why. I don't really understand the science behind. Okay, so I take that back. I do understand where some people are coming from with the 4896 because there was a guy I was watching a video. I think you sent me the video
Mhm.
that he was explaining that he drives like 70 miles to and from work, which is absolutely insane in my eyes, but whatever.
I drive
He drive
5 minutes.
it, well, you live like next door. But this guy was saying that he drives like 70 miles one way. And, if he's up all night, that's 70 miles home that he's sleep deprived. I get that. But what makes you think you're not going to be sleep deprived after working 48 hours straight? Like in my situation, when I was at this EMS department that did 24s, we weren't busy during the daytime. I mean, we had transfers and stupid crap like that, but most of our calls historically came in the middle of the night. So if you didn't get any rest during the daytime, you were screwed because you were going to be up all night too.
So my department's about the same way. Like during the day, you can go 12, 13, 14 hours and not get any type of a run. And then just about dinner time, that's when it kicks on. And most of the places that are like that, if you think about it, what do most people do during the day? They go to work, they drive to work.
Well, depends on where you live, but yeah.
Correct. Um, but out in the area that I cover, everybody is driving into the city to work during the day. Our population volume drops during the day. They come back to work or they come back home from work, population density increases as well as the 911 calls. But I don't the 4896 I don't think is going to fix that. Um so the Oregon State Health Department has actually they have an ongoing study. It's called Shift Work in Firefighters. And I don't know if you're familiar with what Portland's doing as far as their schedule goes, but it's kind of a hybrid between the 24/48 and the 48/96. Oh, yeah. It's 24 on, 3 off, 48 on, 3 off. And you can do that with 3 shifts, apparently. So you're not adding an extra shift. You're not adding an extra cost to the department. You still get the benefits of having those extended periods off, but you also have the benefit of not having to work 2 days straight. Um, because great, 48/96, I've got 4 days off that I can do whatever with. And the reasons for adoption that some of these places have more consecutive days off, more wake up days at home, supposedly better psychological mental recovery, lessens risk of hypertension and cardiovascular disease. More time off allows for psychological detachment from work, increases family time, recreational activities and exercise off duty, which can alleviate stress and lower cortisol levels. And then reducing commuting time is also there because you're not driving back and forth to work necessarily as much. I don't know about anybody else. I don't sleep at the fire station.
I mean, I didn't sleep
It's
when I worked in that EMS agency. Like,
it's
I
not, I
couldn't
mean, and
sleep.
even when you do sleep, it is not a restful sleep.
No, because you're constantly waiting for the buzzer to go off. You're waiting for that next call.
So, there's no studies on that as far as like the safety risks associated with, working 48 hours straight. What are the increased injury risks on that second, 24
Well,
if you
let's
didn't
be
sleep the night
honest.
before?
That's part of the problem. There's not a whole lot of studies out there. Like, so the other alternative, what a lot of people are wanting, and a lot of departments have switched to, is the 24/72. I kind of have problems with that as well. I don't feel like, so the 48/96 isn't fixing the problem. And again, I'm going to go back to this guy that was talking on the video. You're still working the same amount of hours in a week. 72, you're obviously working less days in a month, and you get more time off. So that's nice. That first day that you have off from your shift is spent recovering. Okay. Then you've got at least 2 more days to kind of do whatever it is that you need to do. 96, again, it comes back to lack of sleep, which I feel like is the whole problem with a 24-hour shift in general as well. Now, for a department that's not very busy, so let's say, I don't know, a smaller city department, 24-hour shift probably isn't that big of a deal because they're maybe getting a couple runs a shift. But for a department like Detroit or Indianapolis or Chicago, like 48/96 ain't gonna work. Look, I mean, Chicago's getting 23 calls in a shift most times, especially down in Inglewood. So 48's not gonna work for them. So I could see a 48 working for a smaller department, but I don't quite understand the reason behind it.
Yeah, it's just to get more days off. So there is actually I managed to find it just Googling stuff. Um it's a prospective cross-sectional study by PMGA Public Health. Never heard of them before, but talking about
PMJ?
BMJ Public Health is who published this. And it's basically pulling information from other studies, but it's all condensed here. So the goal behind and the people that have tried to sell this 4896 is, oh, you work less and you're at home more. Year one, the table that they show here, it's a 14-day period of working. So on a traditional 48 hour schedule, you're working 5 days out of those 14, according to this table. This Portland schedule, the 1323, you're working 5 days out of that 14-day period. 4896 actually makes you work 6 days in that 14-day period.
So again, this kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier.
Actually, it actually has, I have less time at home. I just have more consecutive days at home. So
Yeah, I don't understand how a 48/96 though would, I feel like it would increase the stress, it would increase unhealthy habits, it would increase the chances of people getting burned out quicker. I don't I kind of understand. So, okay. This guy, he mentioned on there that, switching to the 48/96 allowed him to, if he was busy that first night that he was on, allowed him to sleep in a little bit later in the day. That's great if your department allows that, but I don't foresee departments allowing people to sleep in. Like, I have a feeling they're going to say, "Hey, on your 48s that day 2, you got to be up by 7 or 8 a.m. and you got to be ready to go, do another second day of training or whatever your duties are for that day." Like, I don't foresee anything really changing by switching to a 48/96.
why don't we change the start time of the shift?
Well, I've wondered that myself too. Why does the start time of the shift have to be 7 o'clock? Why can't it be noon? Why can't it be 11 o'clock?
So just if you know going to a 4896 allows you to sleep in that next day, and then you can wake up naturally, you can feel relaxed. I'm like assuming you can actually have the ability to sleep at work. Occasionally, I get a really good night sleep at work. A couple shifts ago, I managed to sleep entirely through a fire alarm.
Way to go. Good job.
Tones didn't wake me up. The alien abduction light didn't wake me up, and I even
That's
slept through
impressive.
my alarm in the morning. So occasionally I do get a really, really, really restful night's sleep and I woke up feeling amazing. But that's the exception to what normally happens. You know, you change the start of that shift to just throw some random times out there, 9, 10, 11, noon. I can sleep in and wake up at home. And then
Or
I can, you know, spend the morning with my family. I can, you know, help take the kids to school. I can have breakfast with everybody and I can naturally wake up before I go to work and be rested going into work rather than okay, my shift starts at 7, alarm goes off at 6, you know, shit shower shave, get ready for work, go in. And I'm not awake when I get to work.
no, I mean, I'm not either, and I don't work full time and as a first responder anymore either.
There's nobody that wakes up, goes into work at 7 o'clock and is awake. Not on my shift.
Yeah, so I don't understand, like, if we're gonna mess with anything as far as schedule goes, let's at least mess with the start time. I feel like start time could be a little bit better. I feel like it would be more conducive for families too. Like if your start time for the fire department was say 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock's not near as absurd as 12 o'clock, but 12 o'clock would be awesome. Let's say you start your shift at 9 o'clock. That gives you time to, if you got to take your kids to school, you can take your kids to school. If you have a doctor's appointment, you can go get your doctor's appointment done. You need to go run to the store, you can go do that before work. What if you want to work out, whatever. There's time in there to do that. Or if you just want to sleep in and get up at 8, you could do that. But I feel like we should be messing with the start time before adding an extra 24 hours onto a shift. I would really like to get somebody's perspective. If anybody's listening to this show and you have worked a 48-hour shift, or if you've done a 24/72, I'm curious to know your perspective on how it is. Because,
I mean, I would take a 24/72 over a 48/96.
I mean, I don't disagree. I feel like a 24/72 would be great because the only thing you're changing is you're giving yourself an extra day off. Whereas
I
a
mean, that
48/96, the only thing you're changing is, yeah, you're getting extra time off, but you're really not because you're working an additional shift. And then that first day that you have off, that first full day, you're just recovering. So then really you're not really changing anything.
cool. I got an extra, you know, an extra day off from work, but
And you're
doesn't
still
do me any
working the same amount of hours in a week.
in a
Like
2 week
nothing's really
period, you're working
changing.
more.
Yeah. I mean, not
In a
much more,
2 week
but you
period,
are
you're
working
working
more.
more.
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite understand it. Like I said, you look at what
No,
what
if you
is what is FDNY work? What's their
I mean, if you're looking at it
hours?
from like a 7-day work week, technically you're working you are working the same amount in a 7-day work week, but you stretch that out to a pay period, 14 days, you're actually working more. I was doing research. I don't know. Bottom line is shift work just sucks in general, but it's to a certain extent, it's just part of the job. Are you still there?
Somehow my AirPods have stopped working.
So you had the problem that I had yesterday where I had no audio whatsoever.
There we go. Got it.
Hey, he's back.
That was dumb. Try to look something up
Oh,
and
garbage.
I don't get it. So FDNY does two 9-hour day shifts and then two 15-hour night shifts, followed by a significant amount of time off, around 72 hours, averaging about 56 hours weekly over a 24-day cycle. Okay, so That's about the same amount of time that you would get doing a 24/48 or 48/96 or whatever. So why doesn't everybody just go to that? I mean, it's obviously proven to work for FDNY.
No, if that's the option either.
I mean, okay, so for anybody that's ever gone from, working days like a rotation like that, where you go days for a certain period of time and then you go to nights, yeah, it kind of sucks. But so let's change that a little bit. What's keeping them from doing, okay, you're going to be night shift and you're going to be day shift, just like what we did in EMS?
I mean,
Why is
nothing.
the fire service so hell bent on staying on at least a 24-hour shift?
Budgets.
But that doesn't even make sense. Because at the end of the day, that doesn't even make sense. Doesn't make sense to me. Nobody loves Does anybody truly love working 24 hours in a row on a busy department?
I'm not on a busy department. I don't really like it. Shift work, like I said, in general, is garbage.
I mean, one could argue every job has shift work, but I don't disagree.
I'm specifically talking about the the cycles that are common in the fire service, the 24/48s, the 24/72s, 48/96. I mean, every job has shifts. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm using a generalized term to describe the shift cycle in the fire service. 24/72s require departments to add an extra shift, and that's payroll, that's insurance, that's benefits, pension stuff. That's you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars at that point. You go to a 12-hour rotation with you do something like a 2-2-3 type schedule, or you're still adding a fourth shift, which requires.
Don't Just don't do a 4-2 schedule because that's what a lot of police departments do. And I've done a 4-2 schedule and I think it sucks.
Well, that's not that would suck more than a 40 opinion.
Yeah, I agree. So I was doing a little bit of digging. So a while back, my wife went on a trip to Denmark, and she was talking about how in Denmark, the people there don't work near as much as we do here. Like, and by not very much, I mean they work about maybe 7.5 hours a day, but the legal maximum amount of time they're allowed to work in a week is 48 hours. So the fire departments there, they do 24-hour shifts as well, but the rest of the community there, they only work like a few hours a day. Most of their time is spent with family. Like, they believe you should have more time off than you do working.
Not a bad concept.
I don't disagree.
Honestly, I'm home more with the 24/48 than I ever was, or I feel like I'm home more with the 24/48 more so than I ever was when I was working in EMS. You do a 12-hour shift, you wake up, you go to work, you come home, you go to sleep, you wake up, you do it over again, and you got a couple days off.
So in Europe, the most common pattern is 24/48 or 24/72. So apparently some departments have been doing 24/72s there for a little while. But in countries like Germany, France, and Finland, they do 12 or even 8-hour shifts, and they're working 40 to 42 hours a week.
Do you know why the US Fire Service is probably, so dead set on the, 24/48 and why it's the most common in the country?
I really don't. That's the $1,000,000 question that I have.
Because it's the way we've always done it. Hate those words, but
I had somebody tell me that in my current job, and I said, "Well," they said, "Well, this is the way we always done it." And I said, "Those are my least favorite words ever. Like, that leaves you zero room for improvement. That leaves you zero room for just being better in general." Like, I don't that if anybody ever has that in their mindset, anybody that ever listens to this show, if you have ever said, "Well, this is the way I have always done it," or "This is the way we've always done it," for the love of God, change your attitude. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's you going to the gym. I don't care if it's, your daily routine or whatever. Change shit up. It doesn't always have to be the same routine. because if you're not changing things, you're not growing. You have to change stuff up. Like fire service is awful about it. Police department is awful about it. Like I was just talking to a buddy today and we were talking about that. Like you have to leave room for growth. You're not going to know if something is going to be successful or not if you don't try it. God, I hate those words. So yeah, so to wrap that up, I don't know. If I had to pick one of those shifts, I would probably say the 24/72 would be better. But I think again it comes down to the department that you're on. Like if you're on, if you're averaging 5 calls in a shift, then probably doesn't really matter that much. Like you could probably get away. I guess, and it also depends on how spaced out those calls are. Like if you're not busy during the daytime but you're up all night, well then that's probably different. But
It's
if it's
dependent
spaced
on
out,
it's the call volume, your average call volume, average calls, throughout the time of the day. Um, if you're a slow department, you could probably get away with a 4896 and your guys would probably freaking love it. I know, me personally, the concept of, being at work for 48 hours and being away from home for 48 hours isn't necessarily something that, is high on my list of let's do this, but I may
you
have a
know what I
different
think?
opinion.
You know what I think? I think the 4896 is honestly an excuse. I think it's an excuse. I would like to see the numbers. I haven't figured out the numbers on it. But can the 4896 allow you to get away with less manpower, like with less total number of firefighters on a department?
You can do the same thing with a 4896 as you can with a 24/48 because you're still working with 3 shifts. So you can transition from a 24/48 to a 48/96 and not have to increase your staffing levels. You go to 24/72, you would have to add another shift.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So that's, budgetary reasons for some of that as well. Like, okay, I don't believe there's a chief out there that doesn't care about making sure that their guys get sleep or doesn't care that, their guys aren't getting, enough time at home. I haven't come across any.
I could probably name at least one.
Me
I'm not
personally,
going to.
but there's budgetary realities associated with that,
In fact, I could name a commissioner not from Indiana, from a different city that I could guarantee could give two shits about their people because that particular individual proved it. In fact, there's a movie out there, documentary, whatever you want to call it. There's a video out there that has proven that point. It's an old video, it's an old documentary. It's from like around, I don't know, 2010 time frame.
okay, I will amend my statement then. I have not personally come across one
That's fair.
in my professional life.
I don't think there's a fire chief in this county, really in this state, that doesn't care about their people. I truly believe that. I truly believe most of the chiefs in the state of Indiana care about their people. I truly believe that. Especially in Allen County. I think in Allen County, most of the chiefs care about their people. I think there are fire chiefs in the state that are in it because their egos are high, but I don't believe anybody in the county, chief wise, doesn't care about the people. I think they all do. And I think Allen County, I know not everybody will agree with this, but I think Allen County has some very good chiefs. And I think Allen County, as far as fire service goes, has a chance to really prove themselves and to really change the name of fire service in general if they play their cards right. I think there's some awesome individuals that are in leadership roles in the county. Like truly believe that. Some people I call really good friends I think we have an ego problem. I think the county and the city as a whole.
That's a fire service public safety problem.
Yeah, but I think we have a huge ego problem. And I'll be the first to admit, like when I was still in, I had a huge ego problem. I had I mean, honestly, I had burnout issues. Like it was a good thing that I took some time off. Let's put it that way. Like I needed to take some time off for my own sanity and for everybody else's. Like I did not handle things as well as I should have when towards the end. But like my wife and I got into this conversation, and I know we're out of time here, but my wife and I got into this conversation when I was talking about getting back on our department. And I think between the drama at a previous employer, the drama at two previous employers, the fact that it was around COVID time, I think there was a lot of crap that hit all at once and it stressed my brain out to the max. And I think that's why I turned into this raging asshole, for lack of a better word. Like I'm not afraid to admit it. I was an asshole. I lost friends over all of it. I've started gaining those friendships back though, but I ego was a problem for me, and I won't be afraid to admit it, but I think ego is still a huge problem in the fire service in general. I think it's a big problem in all aspects of public safety, honestly.
Don't disagree with you. I had my own ego problem back in my younger days.
I mean,
Just
honestly, it happens to all of us. At some point or another, you're going to run into an issue, or you're going to run into a situation where your ego is, and it's usually in your younger years, like, your teens, your 20s, sometimes your 30s if you don't get it checked. But a lot of times it takes something critical to happen for somebody to get their ego in check. And eventually you will. But there are some people that are grown ass adults that are, man, they let ego take over their life and they don't even realize it. Well, with that, I think that's about all we got. We're over our hour time frame here. Like I said, we got some cool guests coming up. Gonna do some things a little bit different in 2026. What else? Check out our website, debriefwithtyler.com. I'm going to be doing some things differently with that, possibly. Yeah.
if you'd like to be a co-host, shoot us a message on Facebook or wherever.
That reminds me. So we've got this Patreon account. Um, so Patreon is like a subscription service, but what I'm going to start doing is every guest that we bring on, we're going to ask them different questions that will only be viewed on Patreon. So, especially our cop friends, we're going to ask them like what their everyday carry is, things like that. And that those types of interviews, those are usually about 10 to 15 minutes. Those ones will only be available on Patreon. Some of the longer form interview sessions, because we'll kind of get back into that every once in a while, depending on who the guest is. You know, not the entire episode will probably be available on YouTube or Spotify or whatever. The majority of it will probably be available on Patreon. And that's really because this shit costs money. Like Cody and I were talking about earlier, we don't get paid to do this. Would love to. But in order to keep up with subscription fees to be able to edit this stuff and be able to make some better videos in the future and really to be able to get some big name guests. Eventually I would like to do in-person interviews instead of just doing all of this online. It's going to take money. Patreon's the best way. If you want to support us, uh, I will be getting that back up and running again, and we'll start posting some videos and random crap on there. So that's the best way to support us. And we're always looking for sponsors. If you want to be a sponsor, hit us up. We could talk.
Be looking for
All
my
right.
new background too.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about that. All right. As always, thanks, y'all. Appreciate every one of you.